Hi, welcome to this edition of Demystifying Disabilities. I have with me Juliet. Juliet is a doctor based in Tanzania. Juliet, welcome to the show. Which part of Tanzania are you in?
Hello, thank you so much. I'm from Kilimanjaro, which is a region on the northern part of Tanzania.
Okay. And
Yes.
you have a disability yourself, I believe. Your hand.
Yes, I have a left hand, an inborn problem, not problem actually, indifference, let's say, called hemangioma. So it's like an overgrowth of blood vessels that happened on my left hand. Yeah.
Is it painful?
No, it's not painful so far. It sometimes happens if I carry heavy things. Maybe that's when I can get a problem, but otherwise, I can just use it in other normal functions.
You're a medical doctor?
Yes, I am, and a researcher.
Okay. And what and how did it affect you growing up? Because I'm sure children must have made fun of you when you were a child and all those things because children can be cruel depending on on what you look like or what you do and all those things. So what was it like for you growing up with this condition which is so visible?
It wasn't easy as a child. Going to school with my hand like this. At first, I used to hide it. Every time my parents made uniform for me, I made sure I tell them, please make sure there's a pocket on my skirt so that I can always hide my hand. So it wasn't easy at first. People looking at you all the time. People asking you what is wrong, what is wrong, and as children, sometimes a few times people making fun of me, but I'm really grateful that I've been raised by parents who were very supportive. Actually, it never clicked on my head that I am less than any other person. I could feel bad when my friends or people from school asked me, but at home I felt safe. With my family, I've always felt safe and I've always felt capable of doing my functions and my daily needs. Yeah.
And when you wanted to go to medical school, it wasn't a problem at all because I mean I believe both hands are usually needed for to perform certain functions that you go through that you have to do as a doctor. And were there any questions about your capability when you wanted to enter medical school?
Yes, actually, the first time these questions were raised was in secondary school when I had to decide whether I am going for science studies or commercial or social sciences. And I was very determined that I wanted to go for science. I liked biology. I wanted to go for science, and it took like 2 to 3 weeks going around it, talking, a discussion between me, my teachers, and my parents to come to a decision and agreeing together that I can take science. And I remember that some of my teachers had to take me to the lab and teach me and look at me doing different experiments, just making sure that I can actually hold the equipments. I can actually take part in every activity. So the hardest part was when in secondary school when I decided to take science, and after that it has been learning and adapting, sometimes learning my own techniques because I cannot hold things the way everyone else holds. So I've always had to learn my own techniques of doing. But from secondary school to university, I was afraid at first. On my first day, I remember the first day I went to the clinical wards. I called my mom in the morning and I told her, I'm going to the wards. I'm afraid. I don't know what am I gonna find. I don't know if I'll be able to do or not, but I'm gonna try anyway. And it's been a very beautiful journey because I went to a very good school. I went to for university for medical school. I went to KCMC, which is Kilimanjaro Christian Medical School, and I met very supportive people. Like there's always been someone pulling me. There's always been someone pulling me like, come do this extra, come do this extra, come learn this. So even at times when I would maybe hold back because I'm afraid, there's always been someone holding me and pulling me close. So it's been a journey of acceptance and learning how to do things my own way. Yeah.
I think those of us with disabilities are experts at adapting the ways of doing things our own way because things are not developed for our various conditions. And that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I like what you said about acceptance because you have to accept yourself first, accept your your condition before anybody else will accept you. And I remember when we met at the Marami event because you were one of the Marami fellows, right?
Yes, I remember in 2017.
Yeah, yeah, and I noticed your hand, but I realized that at the time you're still kind of hiding it a bit. Am I wrong?
I would say my lead has made a very big change in terms of my acceptance journey. We
Okay,
actually had a session. I remember that session very well. We had a session where every person we were given time to think, and then every person was sharing something they were not comfortable with or something they were afraid with about themselves or about their lives. So I took time to think a lot, and then I shared about my hand. And I think that was my turning point because that was the first time I opened up that I was afraid and I didn't know how does the future look like for a person like me. I have so many big dreams, but I'm not sure if I'll get them. I just opened up, and I from that moment I could clearly see me before my lead and me after my lead were different people. Like even I could see the pictures I was taking after my lead, the pictures I was taking in public with friends, on marathons. They have my hand out, which is so different from the pictures I used to take before. I used to hide it. It's true.
well,
Yeah.
I'm very happy that 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 gave you a forum for self acceptance and kudos to Mawuli and Mami Apod for being
Yes.
for being there for you guys and
Yeah.
well, yeah, yeah. So tell me about the disability community in Tanzania. What is it like? I mean, what and is there like a discrimination and all those things? Because honestly, the only thing that I've heard when it comes to disability in Tanzania is the albinos who are being killed and all those things for their body parts and all those things. So I'm sure that there are more positive stories that you can tell us about. I mean,
Yeah, there has been a lot of movements and awakening currently in helping and in making sure that people with disabilities get the same chances and have good access to services and opportunities like any other person. And recently, we have evidenced a number of people who are doing very good work in the community. One of them, we call her Madam Sophia. She's a teacher and she's making a very great impact around the country, helping children in learning and also leading different movements that have been supporting and empowering people with disabilities. But we've also seen a number of NGOs who are now focusing on helping people with disabilities in terms of getting them reproductive health and sexual education, making sure they get good education in form of schools, making sure they have good parenting, We have people who are working with physiotherapy, who are providing care for people with disabilities. So, as of recent, there has been more awareness and more awakening and more movements into first recognizing them, also helping them to get access, equal access to opportunities, and also recognizing those who are making impact in the community. Yes, I'll connect. I would love us to have Madam Sophia in one of the sessions in the future. I believe, yeah, we can have her. She's a wonderful lady from Tanzania.
Yeah. So when you what do you see? I mean, in terms of the future, the- for with regards to society, because I think society plays a big role in whether people are being accepted or not into the community. When it comes to Africa, all over Africa, we have all these superstitious beliefs about disability and all those
Yes.
things. And I realized that it's something that runs across Africa. I don't know about Northern Africa, but at least from from West Africa to East Africa to Southern Africa, we still have those misconceptions about disability being something that is a result of a curse or something that your ancestors did or something that somebody in your family did, and some of us are trying to change that misconception. But I like to know what it is like in Tanzania with regards to issues like that. Is it is it as prevalent as it is on this part of Africa?
Okay. Some years back, we had cases of albinos being murdered due to superstitious beliefs.
Hmm.
But the government has worked and in collaborations with NGOs and international organizations in making sure that that is stopped through regulations, but also through a lot of community education on media, through broadcasting medias. A lot of education was given about disabilities. So I would say yes. Sometime back, a lot of belief was there about superstition, and in some tribes, even children with disabilities were killed, were murdered in some tribes. But right now, the situation has changed, and we see more people bringing out children with disabilities because a few years back, just a few years back, we used to hear stories like a person is 17 and has never been out of the house, or a person is 20 and has never been out of the house, always locked because she or he is mentally retarded, or because she or he is crippled, or things like those. But the situation is really changing now because these parents who are hiding kids are being taken care of by policies. There are policies that are demanding every child to go to school. So whether this child is disabled or not, at a certain age, if this is the age for primary school, then this child has to go to a primary school. Especially now that we don't have school fees for primary schools, every child has to go to a primary school. So all these regulations have been enforcing parents and guardians to take their kids to school, whether they have disabilities or not. And there are also other policies that are kept to favor people with disabilities, whether it's in school, whether it's in hospitals, whether it's in community areas. People are becoming more aware, and a lot of these superstitious beliefs are no longer functioning, except maybe in some rural areas, very remote areas. But in most parts of the country, people are well educated, especially now that we actually see people with disabilities doing things that have impact in the community. So the community has come to accept that, okay, so these are human beings just like any other person. except for their small indifferences here and there. But these are actually human beings with full capability and functionality, just like any other person.
You
Yeah.
said primary school education is free and
Yeah.
compulsory. Is it so? Are you also practicing inclusive education, where children with disabilities are being schooled in the same school as those without disabilities, or they have special schools that they go to?
Oh, they go to the same schools. However, they are special schools. So a child may go to the special schools, but the government schools take every child.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are no issues about schools rejecting children with disabilities.
No, no, there are no such issues. There are no
Wow,
such issues. Yeah.
that's good because in Ghana that's a problem that we have because
Mm.
I mean we are supposed to have inclusive education, but most of the time when the parents take the children to the school, the headmaster or the headmistress would reject the child because they don't
Oh,
know how to how to handle those children. So
child.
so I'm curious how does it work? Do they have I mean those with special needs? Do they have trained teachers who know how to teach them in the schools or what? I mean how do they adapt into the schools?
Oh, okay. So in normal government schools, usually there are facilities that will help. Example, people who are crippled, who are blind, they can get the facilities. But for those who need special attention or who need special training, then those may need to go for the special schools.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what facilities do they have in the government schools? So if let's say I have a physical disability, are you
Mm.
saying that the government schools are fully accessible? Are there ramps? Is there a disabled toilet in the school and all those things? Those special things that children with physical disabilities need to be able to get around. Are they available in the schools?
Oh, that is mostly available in higher learning institutions. I can say that, but in primary and in secondary schools, people are trying. Most of the times, is when such a case happens, then the school would make initiatives to create something that can accommodate the child.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's very impressive, and I think we should learn a lot from you guys because considering where you are, I mean, with regards to disability acceptance, we are nowhere there in Ghana because we have the policies, but when it comes to the
Mm.
implementation, we are still struggling.
Implementation.
Yeah, we are still struggling with how to implement it. And considering you are not even in the city, you are in a town near Kilimanjaro,
Yes,
and you
yes.
have these facilities available there. It's really impressive. Really, really impressive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
I would actually say,
go
uh,
ahead.
I would actually say it's not there 100% in every part of the country. I've lived most in the city, so I've seen these things happening more in the city. In the village, there are still challenges, but you see initiatives, you see people doing projects to tackle these. It's not like everyone is blind, that there's no problem. People notice the problem, and so initiatives are being taken. It's not 100% that we have all the facilities, every school is equipped, no, but progress is being made.
Uh, and I guess that is all we can ask for. I mean, we just want progress. We just want the problem to be recognized and know that it will take. At least there are some initiatives being
Yeah.
being done to solve the problem. So can you talk about your research? What do you do with regard to your research work?
Oh, okay. I'm currently a tutorial assistant at the Institute of Public Health at Kilimanjaro Christian Medical University, which is located in Kilimanjaro region at the northern part of the country. And here I work and teach research methodology to students, university students, and community health to university students. But we also conduct outreaches to educate the community around, outreaches for blood drive, outreaches for HIV awareness, outreaches for different campaigns that are going on in the country. We also conduct consultancy and project coordination. Um, yeah, so far that's what we do. But I'm also glad that I've joined the university like a month ago, but before that I've been working as a freelance consultant, and I've been able to work with a number of organizations including UNICEF Tanzania, and clouds and different broadcasting medias, because so one of the things I'm very skilled on is I'm eloquent and in explaining things. So I decided to use that in terms of raising awareness about different community health matters. So I usually do a number of radio sessions to give education about different things. Example, during the COVID outbreak, I was working with a number of broadcasting medias like Clouds FM, Clouds Digital Media. I was working with radios, making sure that people have the correct information, especially for a part of the world like ours. We are Swahili speakers, and most of the times information is given in English. Like the COVID information was disseminated in English at first. So there was a lot of misinformation when the outbreak started in our country. There was a lot of information that the government had to ban who should be speaking about COVID. So at that very time, it was actually a good chance for me to use my skills, making sure that people have the correct information. So I worked with all these different organization and broadcasting houses in making Swahili content about COVID. And this content has been able to reach over 30 million people around the country through TV stations, through radio, through social media, and giving them correct information about COVID. So I work as a researcher, I work as a consultant for different organizations, but it is also part of my passion working as a medical journalist, making sure that people have correct information. Yes.
So you do a lot of community has outreach and community has, I mean, yeah. So
Yes.
what are the main problems when it comes to community health? I mean, what are the what do you see as the prevalent issues with community health? Is it HIV? Is it, I mean, hypertension, diabetes? What are the common problems that you have in
Okay.
Tanzania?
Okay. Currently, we have a growing problem with non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension, cancers. Uh, we have a problem because we used to. I mean, in our setting, we used to be very active. Like people work to work, go to work, buy food, work around. But now with all these cars and junk food all around, we don't exercise. There's a growing problem with non-communicable diseases, especially in an African culture. It's not very common people going to hospital for a checkup. We're used to go to the hospital when you're already sick. Yeah, so by the time people come to hospital, it's already a growing problem. We already have complications starting. So one of the issues that we are trying to really address right now is making sure that people do adjustments on their lifestyles. people keep a healthy lifestyle in terms of what you eat, in terms of your how can you accommodate exercise in your daily activities, how can you accommodate good meals, how can you accommodate enough sleep, and all these components of a healthy living. Yeah. But also another problem is on child and maternal health. We still need a lot of awareness to mothers about pregnancy and child health, which, yes, also the government is working, and we have a number of NGOs and local and both international and local organizations who are working to raise awareness. So I'd say one of the major problems, which is actually accelerating, is on non-communicable diseases, and the other one is on child and maternal health. Yeah.
How about autoimmune conditions? Are you seeing a rise in those as well?
Yes, they're there. I'd say they're there, and we don't do a lot about them for now. There's a lot of research that is still going on, a lot of observation, and a lot of supportive care that is given. But in terms of definitive care, um, no, we still don't have a definitive care.
Because one thing that a lot of people realize when it comes to autoimmune conditions in our part of the world is that it takes a long time to diagnose. So they
It's
go
true.
to, to about 5 or 6 doctors looking for a correct diagnosis. By that time, they've been given medication which has worsened the condition because nobody
Yeah,
really knows what the problem is.
yeah.
In West Africa, uh, most of the time they attribute some of these things to malaria because
Mm-hmm.
malaria is our primary cause of illness. But so they treat you with malaria for malaria for a long time. The malaria is never going. Then they start looking at other possible causes and all those things.
Causes, yes.
Is that is that something? Is that a similar situation in Tanzania when it comes to that diagnosing some of these rare conditions? In the first place, do you guys have malaria?
Yeah, we do. We do
Okay,
it.
okay.
We do have malaria. It is common. It is one of the leading causes of morbidity in the country. Um, yes, autoimmune is still a challenge, especially when it comes to diagnosis. That most of the times it's diagnosed in late stages when a person is already experiencing complications. Most of the times in early stages, especially if this person is from rural areas, would just be given painkillers and other medicines without understanding exactly what is this. It takes time for a diagnosis to be made, and even after the diagnosis, the treatment may be expensive, may be expensive for the people. So there's a challenge in diagnosis, but also there's a challenge in terms of the costs of taking care and giving support treatment to this person. Yeah.
Do you have free healthcare in Tanzania?
Um, I know in Zanzibar they do have that. In Tanzania, in okay, this part of the country, I think maybe in some parts or for some special groups, but we do have national health insurance,
Okay.
which is in different categories. And so recently, the citizens have been encouraged to enroll in the health insurance. Yeah.
And does it cover things like diagnostics? I mean, expensive diagnostics like doing MRIs and all those things that are very costly.
Now that depends on which category a person has registered. So some categories would cover that, but some categories wouldn't.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because
So the categories differ also in cost and differ in the services they can cover.
mm. And how
Yeah.
how how is it funded? The national healthcare, is it funded through taxes, or do the individuals contribute to it?
Um, it's the contributions that are made by a person yearly. Yeah, like you don't just register once. It means there are contributions that you keep um, giving continuously. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm,
That,
I'm I'm not so much aware of how exactly how is it funded from other sources of the country. Yeah, I'm not very conversant with that.
mm,
Yeah.
mhm. Well, it looks like Tanzania is doing a great job when it comes to social interventions. I mean, compulsory education, free education, inclusive education, and and a very efficient national health insurance scheme, from what you are saying. And how long ago did some of these initiatives start? Is it a result of of your president, or did they start before he was elected?
Oh, they started at different times. Like
Uh,
these, the national health insurance was there even before, but what they're doing right now is improvements, modifying the model in which it is being provided. So at first, the national health insurance was only provided to formal sector workers. So it was only for people in formal employment. But right now, what they're doing is changing the model so that even those in informal sectors, farmers, small scale business people, laborers can all be included in the national health insurance. So it has been there, but what is being done right now is modification so that it's inclusive of every person.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's very good. And can we talk about a little bit about COVID, because there's been a lot of misconceptions and a lot of stories coming out from Tanzania when it comes to COVID and all those things. And I'd like to hear from from you as a medical profession, as a medical professional, what the true state of COVID is in Tanzania.
Oh, okay. So when it started in March, we had a problem with a lot of misconceptions, and the government gave a ban concerning who can give or who can speak for the country and in the country about COVID, both the situation and giving education, which I'd say it helped to some point because it limited who can speak because at that time everyone was speaking. And the fact that, as I told you, most of the information was in English. So a lot of the community, the Swahili speaking community, had been fed with misconceptions and stereotypes. So that helped us to get the right information, first of all. Um, every country has its own struggles, has its own challenges. So I wouldn't say it's been perfect, but I'd say each member is trying. The government is trying, the health facilities are trying, education is still being given out through through social media and through broadcasting houses, TVs and radio. COVID education is still there, and people are still encouraged to take measures like hand washing, wearing masks, and other measures. And I'd say in terms of who is sick and who's not sick, now that's when we are limited who can speak for the country. So in terms of that, it's only the spokespeople who can speak about it. But measures are being taken. I'd say the condition looks calm. the condition looks calm. There is no panic. Um, People are taking measures, not all the time and not everywhere, but the condition is calm. Yeah. In terms of cases, I cannot speak about that. I'm not in a position to.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand perfectly. Yeah. Yeah. So, is there anything that you like to let us know about your country in terms of the health, in terms of your specialization and your health, and the health and the community health, and the health facilities in general? I mean, is there anything else that you like us to know about Tanzania? Because today I'm learning a lot about Tanzania, and I'm sure my viewers will also like to know more. Because honestly, the only thing, thing, thing that I knew about Tanzania was Kilimanjaro and and Zanzibar and others.
Yeah.
You know, the tourist attraction and everything. But it's really encouraging to hear that you have such a good system which promotes a lot of these social initiatives which are not very common in various parts of Africa. So,
Yeah.
is there anything else that you like us to know about?
Yeah. I'd say Tanzania is one of the countries that have receptive or a friendly environment for working, especially in health sector. There's still a lot of opportunity in terms of the impacts that can be made in the community. We still have hospitals that are not well equipped, or we would like to equip them more. We still have communities that need education, and they need to be reached in terms of education, but also in terms of services. We have a lot of growing NGOs. We have a lot of growing initiatives that are willing to work and implement and bring development in the country. So I would say it's a green land. It's a green land for ideas. We have a huge population of youth that are willing to work, youth that are looking for opportunities to make an impact. So it's a green land. It's a good place to collaborate with. It's a good country to collaborate with, and it's a good country to invest in. If it's a person or if it's an organization that looks for an opportunity to make an impact, then I would say this is a good place to invest in.
Thank you so much, Juliet. I had a wonderful time chatting with you, and I hope you also enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, I did. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been great sharing. One more thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember one of the sisters in my lead when we met told me something that really, really changed my life. So we were in this station where everyone was sharing about themselves. And what she told me, when I shared my story, she told me, every single person, there's no person that is complete, whether it's physical or whether it's inward. And she said, some of us have disabilities physically, but some have disabilities inward. So what you need to do is to understand that you're not the only one, first of all, and you're not alone, second, and third, you can do it. You can do it. You just need to believe in yourself and set your mind into something, and you can always achieve whatsoever heights you want to go. Yeah.
And you have done that very well, and I'm very proud of you. And I wish you all the best as you continue your journey as a medical professional, and as a researcher, as a community health specialist, and all those things that you do. And I look forward to having you back on the show sometime. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'll be glad. Thank
uh,
you.
have a lovely day.